Well, the Scottish Labour leader, Anas Sarwar, joins me now. Listen, to business. This conference is billed as a big moment for Labour. I was driving down yesterday, listening to people talking about this atmosphere of great optimism, a real sense that this is a party on the verge of something big. Really? Is it? I mean, why? Where's the big offer? I was talking to Paul Mason earlier on about this. I mean, he was an advisor to John McDonnell in the last election. John McDonnell wanted to borrow hundreds of billions of pounds for the Green New Deal. I mean, borrowing money and making sure poor people are a bit better off is something that would have got a standing ovation at Labour conferences in the past, isn't it? I was at your speech yesterday. You were making some bold predictions, actually. You were saying that Scotland is going to deliver the seats that push Keir Starmer across the doorstep of Downing Street. Are you? Where are you getting the votes from? You're taking the votes back from the SNP. People will have heard you making those arguments last night and seen you on the evening news programmes delivering those statements from in front of a massive Union Jack at a conference which began with a big rousing rendition of God Save the King. Does that do much to win you votes back, votes that have turned nationalist? Every poll in Scotland suggests that the dial's not really shifting at all, is it, at the moment? That's not true. So where's this confidence? Somebody told me yesterday you're looking at 50, you want 15 seats in the next election. Let me ask you a couple more questions. The Supreme Court, we're going to be talking about a lot in the weeks ahead. They're going to issue, at some point in the near future, their verdict on whether or not it would be legal for the Scottish Government to hold a referendum. If they come out and say yes, actually it is legal, they do have the right, do you accept that judgment and just get on with the campaign? So if the highest court in the country comes out and says yes, you can do it, you don't accept that. You say, well, maybe at some point, but not now, which is what you're saying already. So you would say to the SNP, please don't do it yet, but we accept that you have the right to do it. There's a documentary coming out tonight on the ferries story. You will not have seen that yet. It broadcast this evening, but we've been trailing it this morning. Yeah, okay, so you know what we're talking about. There's all sorts of suggestions about the way the contract was handled and so on. Listen, I'm not going to ask you to comment on the documentary, but you know roughly the story. Any line on that?
So, we've just been hearing you are sweeping up a load of pro-union votes from the Conservatives, but 19 months into the job, you aren't changing the minds of many SNP supporters, and that really is the market you've got to hack into, isn't it? Why aren't you doing that? You've got to get 1 in 10 of them, haven't you, by your own analysis, right, to make significant inroads. If every single person in Scotland voted SNP at the last election, you'd still have had the Tories in power. Well, here's your other problem with that. Here's the attack line they will keep coming back at you with up here is Brexit, right? And the problem is that you need to win back the red wall in the north of England, quite Brexity constituencies, if I can use that phrase. And, you know, you need to win them back from the Tories to make a big difference. That's fine. But you can't win them and win nationalist votes up here with the same message, can you? Culture wars. The Gender Recognition Act, your manifesto, will reform the Gender Recognition Act to demedicalise the process and allow for the recognition of people who identify as neither men nor women. Scottish Labour shares concerns that some parents of children with intersex traits, so it goes on. It's quite a non-committal phrase. We don't know where you are as a party. We know where everybody else is in the GRE. Where are you on that? Do you think Nicola Sturgeon's trying to polarise the debate, or do you think she's doing it sensitively and carefully and responsibly? Look, we've got about 30 seconds left. Tax in Scotland. What do you want to see happen? Drop the bottom rate to 19p from 20p?
Well, let's bring in Scottish Labour leader Anas Sarwar. He is with me in the studio. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good to have you with us.
Thank you.
I know you were listening to Health Secretary Humza Yousaf talking about the NHS in particular with Martin Geiser earlier on in the Sunday show. The Scottish Government says it's delivering record levels of NHS staffing, according to Humza Yousaf. The First Minister says that Scotland's NHS is performing better than other parts of the UK, that staff here are paid more. What are your thoughts? In that time, he would say that obviously the pressures of Brexit, the pandemic, high energy costs as well on the NHS has had these consequences. Let's break it down, because so Gillian Evans from NHS Grampian was spelling out very starkly the issues: beds, staffing, social care. What would you do? How would you pay for it? How are you going to pay for it? In terms of paying for the NHS, health tax has been muted at certain points. Would you specifically look at a specific health tax to repair the NHS? So would you have to take from other services then? Humza Yousaf indicated perhaps the money has got to come from somewhere, so other services may have to suffer. Would that be something you'd... Do you think the NHS system is broken? Again, we had the discussion on the programme saying it's not changed enormously since 1948 in terms of the model. Do we need a completely new model? Do we have to relook at right from GPs at the front line? Humza Yousaf mentioned Scottish Labour calling for the system to be repaired by the winter. He's saying more realistic is looking at perhaps a 5-year plan to get the NHS back up to where the levels were before. He did say it's not performing at levels that any one of us would like to see, and he laid out the reasons for that. How do you think that you could repair it by winter? What would you do differently? In other issues, Rishi Sunak spoke to the First Ministers of Wales and Scotland when he got the job at number 10. Has Sir Keir Starmer had any of those conversations, do you know? Do you think there's going to be a different relationship now between Rishi Sunak, who picked up the phone within hours of being in number 10 with Nicola Sturgeon? Does that signal a different relationship between the UK and Scotland now? Just finally, you have one Labour MP in Scotland. How do you win back previous Labour supporters who went to the SNP in droves? How do you win them back? What can you offer them?